All right. So where do we want to start here?
Um, Bambi, would you like to?
Yeah. So David, you started. Who is it that you've been communicating with?
So I've been communicating with you, Marcin. Is it
It's
Marcin?
Martian, yeah, Martian.
Marcin.
Martin.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
Marcin.
great.
Got you. Yeah. I think I either found out about you guys through it was either a YouTube video or a sustainability newsletter, something like that. But I saw how similar our projects were, and I immediately like I have to look into this.
Yeah, and I think maybe we're similar in our overall sort of aims and goals, or somewhat, but probably not similar in the particulars. It looks really remarkable what you're doing. We're just a very small project at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, but we're not like anything else that's really in the southeast region. We're completely off grid on a remote microgrid in the middle of the city. And so our purpose is to demonstrate solar living in a place where most of the people who come through our house have never seen a solar panel. It's not something that's in our area due to a lot of reasons, mostly policy reasons. And so we are demonstrating community by showing people how to live sustainably. And also, we're about to add to our solar community. We're at it working with a local high school to build a tiny home. And that is the first of three tiny homes planned for the neighborhood. So we're looking at affordability and quick building concepts, sort of in the way that you all have. But I'm really interested in hearing what your overall goals and aims are and how we might be able to help.
Yeah, yeah. So right now we're starting an apprenticeship program for builders, and we're going to get that rolling on September the 1st. And we've been working on a seed eco home, which has 6 kilowatts of photovoltaics on it, just as the standard model. And our goal is ambitious. It's to train people such that a crew of 24 can build each house in 5 days and make it a viable revenue model to support the work that we do. Have you seen the TED Talk on a global village construction set?
David, you have, right?
Yeah.
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 So
And
yeah, we're working on a lot of the different industrial machines, and housing is also one of the products. But all the different technologies that are key to creating a basically modern civilization with a modern standard of living. So, and open sourcing that, publishing that online to stimulate open enterprise and everything else, and access to all kinds of productivity. So, I'm not sure where to go from here in terms of, I mean, what, as far as building homes which are on the regular market, we're also diversifying into other things like building small homes. Like, for example, we're planning a 2 month package where people actually come on our site and build their own starter home in the form of like two 8 by 16 modules that we put on a trailer, and then we actually ship them home with a person. So that's like the small house concept, which is expandable. So expandable as in you can readily add on to it, and you can start with a small seed home. That's why we call it the seed eco home, as in terms of incremental housing that can be built upon. So that's what we're working on, and we're recruiting students for our program right now. So that's what we're working on quite a bit, and building up our campus here on site for the education infrastructure and everything else on curriculum. So I'm wondering what we can use in terms of what you guys have already, and you also mentioned about the solar decathlon, and um, any thoughts on, as far as the model that you built, the demo home, is that something you're actually aiming to replicate and produce um, in numbers, or
no, and
is
so
it just
we talk about quick permanence. We worked with an architect, and but it's not at the in the same way that yours is. It's not something that it's not that quick, and it's not standardized. But Solar Decathlon, if you're not familiar, all of those home plans, they've been holding that event since 2002. They had it every 2 years for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and all of those home plans are available to anyone on the website, and so
Mm-hmm.
anybody can replicate that under 1,000 square foot home, and they
Mm-hmm.
come in all different types,
Mm-hmm.
uh, a variety of construction styles. So that's a thing that's available to anyone. We see, and we get a lot of those requests, so we send links to people who are looking to, build such a home. But we're also just a source of information for our community. We are surrounded by a low-income community that is very interested in not only renewable energy and grid independence, but also the affordability aspect that
Mm-hmm.
you're um, discussing with your project. And so we like to push out to our region any of these resources that we can, and be able to discuss those, so that people know where else they can
Mm-hmm.
go to for information. And it just your project looks so remarkable and like something that we should be talking about.
Yeah, yeah. As far as the homes in the Solar Decathlon, are all of them pretty much approved, like code approved and all that, or?
Mm. Oh, yeah. I mean, well beyond most of the
Mm-hmm.
local codes that are required, depending on wherever the competition was held. Ours was in Denver. You had to make sure you were up to those local codes, but yeah, yeah. So well beyond what we require in Alabama.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you entered the home, the demo home that you've got, that was entered into the Solar Decathlon, or?
Yes, and taken apart in six pieces and loaded on a truck and driven from Alabama to Denver.
Uh huh.
And we had a huge team of maintenance guys who basically put the house back together in a week.
Oh
So
wow.
sort of the same. And yeah, it was funny. It was much harder putting it together than it was taking it apart. They took that sucker apart real fast and but yeah, so
Hmm.
sorry, I don't know
So,
where I was going with that, but
so yeah. I mean, the house that you have as your prototype? I mean, the idea is to show people, okay, this is what's possible. As far as replicability of it, I mean, is that something, you know, you would recommend for others to build as well and replicate in that form? Like, do you think it's good for that?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. I think for this area, and particularly
Mm-hmm.
the people who come to see our house,
Mm-hmm.
uh, may have, real estate's relatively inexpensive in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They have an old family property or a property on a lake or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
only requires a small footprint. And also, we showcase a variety of ways of being off the grid. And so we have, in our microgrid, we have an independent HVAC system that is completely solar powered.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy off the rack sort of system with a battery and the HVAC system and a small unit that you put behind the house.
Mm-hmm.
And because air conditioning is the premier need here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's our greatest energy burden. And so people who are looking to maybe build a space off grid see that as a really easy solution. The house can be recreated inexpensively. Many of the houses in the Solar Decathlon were not necessarily that. They were not, affordability was a part of the competition, but not a key
Mm-hmm.
part of the competition. Ours was affordable, except especially since many of the more expensive components, our windows are expensive. They were donated to us, but those you can buy off the shelf window systems.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. So
so
what's the total price for replicating one? Like, if you buy the windows with all the costs included, like where does it stand at?
So it is over $100,000 if you get the fancy windows and the fancy countertops and things like that. Under $100,000 for lower end choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And and that is just the materials there.
Yes.
Okay.
No, the student, sorry, it's been a while. It's been since 2016 that we had to do these calculations. The student did calculate construction costs
Uh-huh.
into
So
that.
so what's the breakdown there in terms of materials versus labor and like do you have more specifics there?
That I don't know. Do you have any idea? And also, it would have been 2017 prices for
Mm-hmm.
construction too.
So
So,
I believe I have those. I believe I have those documents buried somewhere. It might take me
yeah,
a minute to find them, but I do also know that the house, its construction, and the microgrid that we have attached
Mm-hmm.
in 2017 were about like less than 175, 178,000. That's including the solar PV and the microgrid. Um, that in 2017 money and today's money, like, is estimated, I think, to be like 250. But then there's also the added kind of intricacy of the microgrid costs are kind of both like up and down because you can get a lot more bang for your buck with solar at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Our microgrid is also a lot bigger than it probably needs to be.
So when you say microgrid, tell me more about that. So what exactly is that?
yeah, we've got four 18.5 kW batteries, and so it is sized at twice the amount of storage that we need for just the 1,000 square foot house
Mm-hmm.
because it's super efficient. And the accompanying inverters, charge controllers. We have a backup natural gas generator, so we are off the electrical grid completely,
Mm-hmm.
but we are tied to the natural gas line simply because we are in an urban location,
Mm-hmm.
and it was possible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But normally, if we weren't in an urban location, we would have used a diesel generator. We are getting a bigger generator just because we could. That's coming up so that we can add the tiny homes to the neighborhood. We've got enough space for tiny homes adjacent to the solar house,
Aha.
and so that's the intention is to have a complete off-grid neighborhood.
So are people gonna
And
be living there, or just like this is still demo territory? Demo.
we would love it.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are at a major urban university where we have a lot of rules about who can live there.
Right.
But we are Rose and I are both in the solar house right now. We use it as a full-time office space, and
Okay.
we give tours all the time.
Okay.
We
Uh,
also rent, I say rent because we don't charge a fee, to UAV students, employees, affiliates, like for them to have meetings or anything they need, like a group gathering for that they want to get out of their building.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our buildings are older and they don't like their conference rooms because they're dark and
Yeah.
you're already in a meeting. You at least want it to be lively. So yeah, we kind of offer the space as like a little event site for UAB community where they can have their meeting or group activity or whatever. And not only do they get to be in a lively place, they're also in a place that their carbon footprint has been minimized as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
I pulled up our PowerPoint.
Yep.
Has our microgrid on it. I can try and share my screen if you
Yeah.
would
Do you want
be
to do that?
interested in seeing that. Give me 1 second, please, because okay. I click share. You guys are going to see everything I have pulled up.
So as far
Uh,
as all the technical detail or blueprints and all that, do you have that documented on the
yes.
website? Like where do I find
Um,
it? Can you?
we have it on the Solar Decathlon website. We also have zip files that we can just email you directly.
Okay.
The Solar Decathlon website, I will
Mm-hmm.
say it is a government website. So there's a lot of information and a lot of tabs and a lot of
Yeah.
menus to sift through. But we do have a zip folder that we can just send you an email in if that's
Yeah.
something you're interested in.
if you go back a couple of emails on our email chain, I think I attached it to one of the more
Oh, was
recent,
it?
like the zip
Oh
folder
yeah.
should be attached to one of the more recent ones.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then once
Good.
you unzip that, there should be like three or four different files, blueprints, house drawings. Like I have one of the little solar decathlon narratives in there that kind of like provides a little more information about the construction. and all of the house materials and everything.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. As far as there's PDFs in there, do you have like any of the actual? I see the PDFs. Any like CAD files, actual in whatever step format or anything that we can actually take a look at, or
So for the house or for the microgrid?
for the house. For the house.
Yeah, for the house, those all of those files I think you have to get from the Solar Decathlon website.
Okay, those would be available there.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if everyone, I was able to share my screen. I think everyone can see it.
Yeah.
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 This is our microgrid. You can see out here we are in a modified shipping container. And then once you go, there's a door. And then once you walk into the door, these are our 4 lithium iron phosphate batteries. Over here are our inverters that we need for the house. This unit here and this light are on, they're not here. Those are on direct current, so they're not having to go through any of this. And then down here we have our charge controllers that keep our batteries from being too full. And then we just have a grounding wire tucked back in one of these PVC tubes that just goes back out to the ground.
You said direct DC current for the heat pump.
So
It's a mini split wind air unit and a light. We don't have like a heat pump in there.
yeah, so it's just for that HVAC system that I was talking about. The solar house itself is AC.
It's AC run from the inverters, and so are you saying that this the AC unit that's solar powered, meaning you're getting that from direct current from the actual?
Yeah, so that little that little HVAC unit that you can buy off the rack, Hotspot Energy is the name of the company.
Oh.
It is DC current.
Oh.
It is a DC unit. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, it does, the solar panels that are attached to that unit feed into the batteries. So, it's all a part of a cohesive system, but you can buy it off the shelf and use it just as a DC direct power supply HVAC unit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
And we do not sadly have any plans, any anything that's written down about the design of the microgrid. It was kind of done on the fly by our partner, that's a local solar company, and they have reduced their operations. They've gone all corporate, and they're not doing residential any longer, and it kind of left us in a difficult situation because they didn't really have any plans. They just put this together. It's been very successful for 4 years. We have almost no problems with it. The only problem that we have had is when the days are shorter, right around, late winter and in December. We'll have an outage because we're having trouble with the Schneider systems not talking to the generator in the way that it's supposed to. For some reason, the generator is supposed to switch automatically on when the batteries get to a certain level, and it's not always communicating. It's a complete mystery. We don't know. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So that's been our only glitch. But now that we have got a new volunteer who's assisting us with the expanded microgrid design and helping us calculate load for the additional tiny home, we've suffered from the fact that they just kind of threw this together, and despite its success, it probably would have helped to have some plans.
Yeah. So who actually designed this? Was this students in like an architecture class or such?
No, we don't have an architecture program, and so we relied on friends in the community, and so the house was designed by a local architecture firm, microgrid by a local solar firm.
And so who kind of initially when this project started, who started it? Was it some department, or was it like an independently funded project or such, or?
The sustainability program, and I was the project manager on that,
Okay.
and have continued to be with the assistance of our wonderful AmeriCorps Vistas, David and Rose, project manager on that. And it's, yeah, so it's a university sustainability program.
Yeah, yeah. And when it was designed, so were you thinking about replications in the local community? That is one of the explicit goals, or more along the lines of this is showcase just to show possibility?
Um, I was I understand through, 20 years of being in Birmingham and the needs in the community that I knew that there was a subset of people in this region who would find this really compelling
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
are looking for affordable living solutions and ways to live off grid in not just in the technical aspect, but to support thriving communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, what we've always known that there's the potential for we never, as a university, it's not our intent to replicate it ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but to provide a demonstration of what can be done.
Yeah. Now, has anyone replicated by any chance yet, or no?
The engineer that we're working with right now, he's probably in his second, third, fourth career
Mm-hmm.
age level, but he is seeing the promise of this and maybe opening up um, businesses or helping to start businesses that could provide this kind of service to people in this area. He's very conscious of the concerns that Birmingham has in terms of
Huh.
affordability. Yeah,
What's the status of that? So
Also,
is this person actively working on that, or is that more like a hobby project, or
he's
how?
he's just thinking about it right now. He
Mm-hmm.
just, we had a community meeting last week, and
Mm-hmm.
he said, you know what, this is what I think I want to do. So, and if he doesn't, I'm just certain that somebody will.
Mm-hmm.
say in the
In the
last
past year, like I have seen like a very, very not steadily, like kind of exponentially increasing number of people be interested in not just like replicating a few of the things that we have going on here, but doing something like this or replicating the house itself on their own. I've definitely had a lot of requests for the blueprints and the construction details, and I have heard from a number of people. Two people that I'm quite certain are very serious about it. That in the in the next in the coming years, it is their plan to replicate this or something very similar.
I say
Yeah.
even back in March, we had a woman. So we take in tours. We do tours for the general public, and if we're not busy, sometimes we get foot traffic. We're on a busy corner, so if we already don't have meetings going on, if somebody comes by and they want to see the house, we'll take them on a tour and stuff. Back in March, I hope she was able to get what she needed, but she actually is a woman who recently bought. It was a abandoned building in Inslee, and she plans on doing some type of community gathering space there. We toured his little house, gave her the plans, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was also able to put her in contact with I forget the name of it now, but it is like another community-based project here to hopefully get her set up with some sources for some financing to get that as well.
Well,
So
and that's brings me to the next subject. I don't know where y'all get your funding. I think the biggest concern that I see now when I talk to other groups is that there used to be some federal funding for these sorts of projects that is probably not going to be the case for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, where are y'all reaching out for funding?
We we the next step is actually to bootstrap fund through the actual building of the house, because the program that we're doing has 2 days of build time. So every 6 weeks we're in principle cranking out a new house to basically fund the project and pay people for
Okay.
work study. We did have some foundation funding over the last 2 years. We got 500K from the Novo Foundation, so we were able to prototype and do all this leading up to the house and development of the curriculum and apprenticeship program. But if we want to scale this or actually grow, the real thing is to show that the economics of it actually work, and we focus on that radical efficiency as part of our model. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you build these homes, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I
So
get this.
part of the apprenticeship is that 2 days out of the week there's actual build time. This is on the job training. So you're actually building the seed eco homes, learning all the trades it takes to do that, such that eventually our team of 24 does each one of these in 5 days if you're actually working on it full time. So
But
that's
you're building them on a site,
we're
or
building them. Yeah, not we have two prototypes on our site, and then the first one we built and is up for sale. That's in another city, and we've got lots in different cities. So we're building it all over, just basically like a regular builder, except it's basically funding the education program. And the 3 days of school is essentially like 12 credits or so of all topics related to how to design just about anything, learning how to learn, and actually learning how to be an integrated human. So it's an integrated kind of skills building and life civilization reconstruction project with very ambitious goals. So
and so you've purchased the real estate in the locations
yeah,
that you're building. I see.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys are you able to offer any type of scholarship for your
Yes, we are.
internship?
In fact, we've got 4 full rides, so $100,000 fellowships for the 4 years.
Okay.
And that's also another thing that we're trying to publicize. And I was going to ask you how to get some VISTA people into our program to do that, because we're offering like the full program. It's actually 4 years. That's a big commitment, but we also offer 1 year. And if people want to just try this out, there's 1 year and also the 2 month and introductory courses that we're building around this.
So when it comes to like vistas, so the vistas are either going to be entirely funded by AmeriCorps or funded by AmeriCorps mostly, and then subsidized by your organization, just depending on how it's worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But and there are like hoops that you kind of have to jump through, especially right now when it comes to the way that you word these things, and you have to be really careful when it comes to now like environmentally centered things. Really, the main focus that they want at this point is just entirely like fighting poverty, which
Yep.
building affordable homes is 100% a great angle for that. But I typically you'll have like a few, depending on your current capacity, full time, like 35 to 40 hour. Uh, Volunteers, they get paid. We get paid like a living stipend just based on the poverty rates in the area, or based on the poverty level in the area, just what the minimum is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the best way to get set up with that would be so there are different offices depending on your region, but I would find your local VISTA program coordinator, and reach out to them directly about the possibility of getting set up with VISTA. I think VISTA is available to any registered nonprofit at this point.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you do have to jump through quite a few hoops, and there is concern that the program is being reduced by the federal government. Is that something that but you're looking for? Are you looking for vistas, or are just what person are
We
you
are
looking for these scholarships?
we're looking for anybody, young people who are right after high school, so 18-year-old and up,
Yeah.
but young people who are just starting their career and looking for something which is work study or education instead of college, something like that.
I guess my
Yeah.
follow-up question would maybe the people who are building our tiny home would be probably a good place to at least drop the information to, especially if you're offering scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that is that so we're working with a local high school that is probably in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the nation. The level of gun violence in that neighborhood is very high, and gang violence. And so these kids are in an architecture and construction program. They are learning how the building trades already, and so they're being offered more money than probably I'll ever make within the next few years, just straight out of high school. So they wouldn't need this. But we do have other area schools that I think would find this very interesting. And we are an outreach component. Of course, we would be helping out a program that would be directly in competition for the students who might want to come to UAB. But I think those are different motivations. We're probably not talking to the high school student who would want to come and study engineering at the university. So I think this is something that when I'm out and about talking to community organizations, or when they come to visit us and David are talking about them, I can certainly, and some of the nonprofits that I'm associated with, that this is something that we can promote.
Yeah, excellent. What would you like to receive to get from me, and what should I send you?
What's been the most appealing so far?
We don't know.
Normally,
I
you
haven't had
don't.
too many people to sign up yet. I'm gonna do another video, and we've had issues on the website because we're just migrating servers, so we got to get the new website up for the program. Maybe then pass it on
So
to you.
people who are paying full freight to be a part of the program, what is that fee for them?
$15,000 for the year, but you can do the work study. So if you're doing the 2 days, and if you need more work during the summer, the program design is such that you end up without any debt, so you can pay for it and pay for your living expenses. And we're gonna have people that actually live on site. We're gonna build microhouses for the accommodations, such that that cost is addressed. It's basically going to be designed such that you're not leaving with any debt as a result of this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the work would be done where?
So the work is, we can go work directly on sites if we're building a house, and also we build it modular. So we build 4x9 foot modules. We can do that in our workshop and then take it to the site. So the work is between the site here and loading up on a trailer, like you said, in 6 pieces, or in more pieces for us, or working directly on a site. So as I said, the different lots that we have, we're actually going out directly to those. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any requirements for the people applying, not just for the internship, but also the scholarship?
No, it's the requirements are willingness to learn, collaborate openly. So we focus on a lifelong learning and open collaborative culture. So basically, any people who want to change the world for the better. So ambitious, motivated people. But we're not looking at credentials. We're looking more for the character and what people's interests are.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of helps with like, if we go to schools and start talking about this, like
Mm-hmm.
some of the areas around here, given that they struggle financially, a lot of times that reflects in GPAs, right? Because they do not have the ability to put in the time that it takes to get a higher GPA, and then, they get cut out from opportunity. So I just wanted to make sure from that.
No, we want to do total equal
Mhm.
opportunity on merit, not
Okay.
background, but by looking into the future, what we're interested in doing.
Okay. That really helps. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I would, if you have any possible like handouts or anything, like any shareables that we could like actually physically hand out to people, or specific links that you would like us to direct people to, anything like that would be really helpful. Especially
Yeah,
like like the I guess like the really kind of, yeah, handouts. I don't know.
yeah, that makes sense. And so do you do outreach to different high schools, or what do you do in terms of?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Tell us.
We do. We've worked with a couple of high schools. Mostly they contact us in the area
Mm-hmm.
just because they see what we're doing here as terms of like renewable energy. We also, I'm not sure how much David filled you in on everything. Like we have the renewable energy house itself. Like we also have the off grid where we talk about like all the financial barriers that come into place in Alabama. But we also do like conservation work built in around the house. So like the entire thing is one cohesive project. So like a lot of STEM teachers reach out to us, especially like April is our biggest month. So a lot of STEM teachers end up reaching out to us, especially like environmental education teachers, and they bring their kids here and we kind of tell them about, the different aspects of the house and different, we touch on it a little bit. It depends on how interested they are, honestly. The different career opportunities that can be done in these particular fields.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
I think that if we take this, we've got a high school right up the street from us that has a program that is not as active as the one that is building the tiny home for us.
Mm-hmm.
one of the first questions that teachers there or parents would ask is, okay, is this the first time you've done this? Is there, probably a concern for, safety level of, sending their 18 or 19-year-old off to a place.
Yeah, we've done a 6 month program before. We've run workshops and programs for external audiences for the last decade or so. So we've got a lot of experience on that. As far as full residential, we had the 6 month. That was 2 years ago for a mini apprenticeship like this. But yeah, I understand the challenge is going to be okay. So show your track record and all that. We're a startup. We've been for a long time and all that. So that's going to be a hard one. But I plan on going on a college tour and visiting with a lot of different either high schools or homeschool organizations to recruit for this. It's not. We're seeing that it's not going to be easy. The other part though that we've done forever is we had extreme build workshops where you build things like a tractor, you build an aquaponic greenhouse, or even this kind of a house. So, for example, the house I'm in right now, we built that in 5 days with 48 people. So we had all these different swarm build events on machines or on houses, or actual, for example, compressed earth block press, where a lot of the structures that are on our site right here are actually made of compressed earth blocks. So we've done a lot of this kind of work. And one aspect of the program is a dedicated track for machine design and build. So we're investing in, we've done things like open source torch tables, iron worker machines, drill presses, and other industrial equipment that we actually build and design from scratch. So we have this.
Organizations to invite.
Hmm.
And since they work in bringing swift mobile, power to disaster areas, but their second level of work is helping those communities to come back from the disaster that leveled their homes. I think that if you'd like, I could share your contact information as a potential attendee because I think this would be a group that would be very interested in the work that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Please do that. Yeah. More questions. So regarding the bills of materials, is the bill like the full bill of materials for the house? Is that somewhere on the Decathlon site or?
Yeah, but it's the worst document ever.
Is it?
Yeah, that what they did is so we all individually submitted our plans
Mm-hmm.
and our description of our project and things like that. But then when we submitted our supply list, they put it all on one big document. So every team's supply list is on one large document, which in some ways is great because you can
Mm-hmm.
see what everybody used, but in other ways it's kind of hard to get through.
Yeah. That exists though.
Yes.
Okay.
There
On the
is
website.
also in the specifically if you go to we were the Survive AL 2017 Team Alabama was the team, but if you go to the directory for the 2017 Build Challenge on the website, and then you have to like scroll through it and kind of like filter it that way. But it will show you at least like the specifics of the products for Team Alabama filtered by that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably easier to just take a look at that Excel sheet, though. It's just got everything that everybody used, which is, like I said, kind of fun to see what everybody used.
Yeah. I see that construction drawing specification. Yeah. No, that looks pretty good. As far as let's see, what else do I want to ask? Back to the vistas. Um, I would reach out if I want to try to actually find Vista volunteers for our program. Would they be in, do you think they'd be interested in actually an immersion education program as well, or?
Vista loves educational programs, especially having Vistas. So specifically, what you would likely have a lot of luck getting Vistas for would be those like coordinating the programs, doing outreach for the programs, and expanding the capacity of programs, which I imagine is something that would
Yeah.
be a really big help. Vistas specifically typically work in a capacity building function. This doesn't mean that we don't do any direct service. Vista likes to be like, don't do any direct service, but you can get Vistas to do direct service if you're
A lot
about it.
so you can kind of get around the direct. So a lot of stuff what you do would be like organizational development, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of work that in rather than, it's like rather than doing a direct service to the community, which you are allowed about what, 6 hours a week, I think, for actual direct service, David. Is that correct? Approximately.
Yes. But we typically, a lot of the things that you might on the surface consider direct service, we typically don't actually consider direct service because it builds the capacity of our organization in some kind of
Yeah.
fashion.
So like,
but
if let's say you have volunteers working on actually, if they're working on maybe like the design of the house, right? That would be more of an organizational development for the house that, because it's going to be given to people, right? So like you are now developing your organizational library for a home that will be shared later.
And then having Vistas on specifically like conducting and developing like the education and training for people that are doing like the swarm builds and things like that. But there are a lot of different applications that would be possible for a Vista. What specific area are you located in, or like what's the city that this would
1
be
hour
located
north of Kansas City.
Okay.
So it's rural. But the thing is, so for example, if we have the 2 days of builds right on the work sites, would you guys be able to participate in that? Or like you can't because they don't allow you?
That would be something that Vistas that you had could certainly participate in.
Yeah, so like if you go through AmeriCorps, so what basically you do is you go through AmeriCorps and you're like, hey, I have a site that would be great for, all of AmeriCorps' needs, like again, a lot of outreach, a lot of education, eliminating poverty. And then they basically, it's kind of like having a manager, right? Like they're going to like have an application that someone fills out and they're going to sift through that. And then you're going to review with your VISTA coordinator like which candidates you think are good fits. And then a Vista will be placed at your site. And when they sign up, when people who are wanting to be Vistas apply, they see where the site is located. So they know where they're going and you'll have one there. And I mean, they can apply from all over the nation. And I think Vista has a little bit of relocation help too. So you're not just limited to your area.
Would they live on site or get an apartment or?
Their living situation can be whatever it is able to be. Whether they get an apartment there, the living stipend that you get is very modest. But if there was a space for them to live on site, I'm certain that is something that would be able to be worked out with the VISTA program. The best place to reach out to is the regional office that covers where you are. And I think it should just be either Kansas City or Missouri as the regional office. But they should have, typically, like, it's a pretty, like, small administration when it comes to AmeriCorps in a region. So they shouldn't be, I don't believe they should be too hard to get a hold of. It's not super hard to get a hold of the people here.
Okay, Simo. It's all development work. We're developing programs, we're developing curriculum, we're developing the build methods and all that. So it's all about development. And I would want the Vistas to participate hands-on because we're all developing, testing, and improving at the same time. So it's hands-on deck with everybody. Highly collaborative environment. So it's like I'm not going to be the boss in the C-suite. I'm going to be on the factory floor with the people. So I'm going to be managing the crews and all that.
That's kind of what Vistas are for. Yeah.
That's good. So for Vistas, so I should be able to find some Vistas for like, what's the turnaround time for somebody applying and actually getting accepted to a program? Is September a possibility if we were to reach out now?
It really depends. Y'all have not been on the hiring side. Sorry, I disappeared there for a second. My computer died. And so the thing is that somebody has to have gone through you have to have somebody locally who is already an established VISTA site. in order for you to establish yourself as a VISTA, a central site, you have to write a whole big grant and all of that stuff. And that would take a while. But if you have someone, before UAB established itself as a site, Birmingham only had one with the YWCA, and they would be offering the administrative support, and then we would work with them. So you need to find, and David's right, call the VISTA office that's closest to you, and they'll know if you would need to start from scratch to start as a site, or if there's somebody locally who will. It's sort of a re-granting program, so they take the federal funds, they funnel it through them, and then charge you a small fee, and they manage it, but you employ the person. And so that's how that works. And I don't know who's there nearby.
Right. So is there like a physical distance limit, like somebody in my area? Because we're in the middle of the country. I'm not sure who's the closest outside of the Kansas City, which is an hour. Does it have to be physically very close to us, or could it be even you guys collaborating with us on that?
Yeah. So we use the University of Alabama at Birmingham's site, and no, they serve. Their grant that they wrote to serve as a VISTA site is for a particular region in Alabama. So it would all depend on that original application that the site that you're working with, what they.
Now,
So
go ahead.
there are multiple, I guess, larger regions and then sub-regions for AmeriCorps Vista.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's pretty much just west, southeast, north central, and southwest, but there are kind of smaller divisions within that. There are other VISTA programs in the Kansas City area that those should be under your region, and depending on their I guess what their capabilities are, there should be, since there is an AmeriCorps regional office in your area, there should be a good few programs that also are already established.
So those programs established in Kansas City, they would serve as our administrators, and it would be our task to convince. We would have to convince them that we're worth working with, or what's it look like with that? They're open to working with others, or.
Yeah, that's the phone call, is to find those things out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think you find somebody that you think is the most likely fit, and ask them those questions. That if it isn't under their jurisdiction, who might be able to help you.
Okay. What about the route where you're actually starting from scratch, is applying for a grant to make this a potential VISTA site? What does that look like? What are those requirements there?
You would go to the federal site for AmeriCorps Vista, and ask and look into what it takes to serve as a site, and the application materials would be there.
Mm-hmm. And do you know that
you guys could be a good candidate to serve as a site?
Yeah, why not? If we're thinking for the longer term, what's if there's an initial startup of that? What's the time frame there? Is a year or two to get set up, or what's it look like?
That's the equivalent. I don't know how many federal grants you've written, but usually that's a year minimum before you get anything off the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do they have any options where, if we didn't need the money to fund it, if we could fund it ourselves, is that another option that facilitates things, or it's just the grant that they give? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Peace Corps, only you serve in the United States. I don't know if you guys told them that, but it's a federal system. It's federal accounting systems, and yeah.
Do they have limits for how many vistas can work at a given site, or it's any number?
Do y'all know that?
I believe it's just limited to the funding that is able to be secured for the site. So sometimes there's funding for one Vista, and sometimes there's funding for two Vistas, just depending on, just depending on what is allocated to the site. I could be wrong about that. That's just what I picked up talking to between here and the other Vista sites that I know, and then talking to our program directors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You said.
But overall,
you mentioned.
Sorry, overall.
Go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
overall UAB as a site has what, 25, 30?
Yeah, we have a good number. That it might be a little bit less because of the specifics of well, this site and then the HIV clinic being next. And I know that Cahaba River Keeper is also under UAB's site technically as well. And those are being slashed because of current.
Okay. So a given site that's already established, we go talk to them, or what are the possibilities there. But when you said there was whatever grant money is available, that means we're actually submitting new grants for the spin-off or the new collaboration. Like say we work with somebody in Kansas City, we'd have to write grants so that they could fund a VISTA for us, or they would already have that money.
What if you worked for somebody that was an existing site already that was just providing AmeriCorps vistas to charities or organizations?
Mm-hmm.
Would write a job description, and they would review that job description, and then they would advertise it for you and work with you to help find the person.
Uh-huh. How many vistas are there per year? Like in the United States, is that program quite live?
There are a lot.
Quite a lot.
There are a lot. And then there are also, so they're like AmeriCorps state. It varies based on whether you're looking at like state or national.
Mm-hmm.
Which there are also other AmeriCorps programs that are not VISTA that might be worthwhile looking into depending on, I guess, how things go with VISTA. There are different AmeriCorps member options, especially when it comes to like part-time. And there are some programs I believe that you would partially subsidize as well and have like a little bit more control over the funding there. But that's something I know a lot less about. AmeriCorps Federal has like tons and tons of people. They do like this big thing where they like ship a bunch of people off to pretty much like you go to like social work boot camp, and that's pretty huge. And I've heard a lot of stories about it. Terrifies me. But then there are also like more local and like state AmeriCorps people, but there are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all over serving as vistas.
Yeah. No, definitely. So I'd like to look into what the possibilities for us are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I did want to, so you were talking about doing like a college tour. So we do actually at UAB, if it is something that you're interested in, the Solar House specifically is one of the sites for the National Solar Tour every year. And if you were looking to, this is the first weekend in October. I think it's October 4th this year, whatever that Saturday is. We're going to be host an event here every year. And if that is during the time you'd be touring, if you would be interested in setting up a table here, like we would be happy to have you or have like resources, if not from you guys in absentia, set out. Because we usually have a good like few hundred people visit every single year for the solar tour, and it kind of just gets bigger every year. But it would be really one of the most high visibility ways, at least in this area, to reach out.
Yeah. So that's solar tour, and that's statewide, or is that the nationwide thing?
National, it's the American Solar Energy Society. You probably have one in your area. If you go on the ACES, American Solar Energy Society's website, probably it's not till October, but a lot of the locations that were on the map for the tour last year will be showcasing this year as well. And so you can find the local organizations that are doing that work, and align yourself with them. I really recommend you do that.
And even from last year to this year, I looked at the map last week, and there are a whole lot more. David looked at it too. There are a whole lot more sites on that map.
It also definitely, it would be worthwhile to look into registering some of your like buildings, some of your sites as stops on the National Solar Tour. There's definitely, depending on how you're advertising it, depending on how it's going, it's a pretty high involvement thing, but it's just a day or two. So and the amount of visibility that provides could very well be worth it.
Yeah. So for the tour where you guys are hosting at the Solar House at your university, that's just one day event, or how many days? Mm-hmm. One day. So
It runs a whole weekend, but we only do Saturday morning. Just again, we're a university. People might stop. You know, we have a good turnout. It's also family weekend here,
Mm-hmm.
but it runs like that the first Friday through the first Sunday in October. We
Mm-hmm.
just choose to do Saturday morning because that's what works for us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
potentially, is it?
organization advertises it for the whole year. I mean, it really is a thing that you can just be a part of the community.
Yeah, yeah. And as far as the like having a table there, there's people with tables displaying stuff, or. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have. So we have a mix of vendors, which David and I are actually working on
Mm-hmm.
planning. We are getting our rough drafts going right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have educational vendors here, and we have like a few merchant vendors too. But yeah, we have like a whole like side lot area next to us where we set up like a large tent. So being the solar tour, you guys are not fully in the solar sun. But and then you can set up like your table and you can bring whatever promotional materials that you have on hand, like I know like obviously like your program itself, like for what you guys do, and if you want to bring like that apprenticeship programs too, because again it's family weekend, so we get a lot of people from UAB and many of them have siblings, so
Yeah.
you know there's we get people from all over the community that come through.
Mm-hmm. And is that?
Honestly, Rose is doing a great job of pitching it, but I'm not sure that traveling as far as you would need to come to our event would be worthwhile. But I do think that finding somebody in your area really would be.
And otherwise, but you would suggest passing on some info so you guys can possibly display it there on the table to you guys?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a vendor, granted this is a local vendor, but still they had something happened and they had to cancel last minute and they just asked if they could set up their materials and we're like, yeah, sure. You know, we can set it up. We'll have, you know, and someone will be there to kind of, is this what
Yeah.
this is?
So we can coordinate
Type of deal. Yeah.
on that and otherwise find out here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. What else? Anything else?
I will say if that is something you want to do, I mean, I know David's been emailing you and stuff. You would just need to make sure to send us the stuff ahead of time because we'll have to have it printed,
Yeah. Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
out, or if it's like a QR code or something that we can display, just that way we have it. And like I said, when it gets closer, that's not until October, so we wouldn't need that like immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. And the program that, so the sustainability program that, so Bambi, that you're managing are you still administering the sustainability program that you mentioned? That's
Yes.
your position.
Uh-huh.
What exactly is the name of the program?
UAB sustainability. Short and sweet.
Sustainability. And that's got, so basically it's like, is that like an academic department where you've got different,
So no, we're actually housed in facilities because we are a very large campus. We are 100 city blocks with 200 buildings, with a large research component, and so we're running sustainability program for all of that, including also a health center. So we've got two hospitals and a number of clinics on campus, and it's like running a sustainability program for a mid-sized city.
yeah, 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 it
Yeah,
is.
and since we are in facilities, we do tend to focus on the built environment. One of our, we have a stellar Green Labs program. Our signature programs are the Solar House and Sustainable Community, and then Green Labs. And we're constantly winning prizes that put us at as the status of one of the best Green Labs program in academia in the nation. So, and that's really focusing on efficiency in water and electricity. But sample program, we've got a lot of big buildings with a lot of glass that bird collisions have been a problem. Birds are flying into our glass all over the place. So
Mm-hmm.
we're putting collision dots on the sides of buildings, which is
Mm.
a huge effort and costs a lot of money, but we're coordinating it because we're tired of seeing birds fly into our buildings. So
Yeah.
that kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. That's good.
Usually when we do also David and I do tabling at campus events to help students, you know, especially because every year we get new students in. We like to basically say if something looks sustainable on campus, we probably had a hand in it.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Most
Possibly
likely.
just in the wider Birmingham area.
We probably at least touched it at one point.
Yeah, and as far as vistas, is that college age students? Like, so they're taking people right after high school, or like, what's the age for vistas?
They have a broad age range. They can be I think it's like 18 to what, 65?
Mm.
Yeah, it can be a retirement age Vista as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a senior Vista though.
Yeah, senior Vista.
Senior.
Yeah, the senior Vista. But it's definitely a lot to take on at the same time as college doing that. But
Okay.
it's worth it. But it is a lot of people are either haven't decided whether or not they're going to college yet, or are right out of college and don't really know what they're doing. There are people that are college students, and this like generally I've seen most vistas be like young adults to like young adult range, but I have also absolutely seen older vistas. Like there are a few in Birmingham.
Uh-huh. So you're at U Birmingham, David? Okay.
Yeah.
And Rose, are you also going to school, or you're
No, I actually just graduated.
Okay.
So I was a student intern here as the urban conservationist, and I'd actually been through two previous vistas, and I was hesitant at first, and then it came down to if you're going to do it, you need to apply. And I had about 5 weeks till I graduated, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go, I'm going to do it, and here I am. But yeah, I had a 5 week overlap. I just graduated back in December.
and before
So
you did it, school and Vista at the same time?
for 5 weeks,
Okay.
it was challenging. I told myself it's only 5 weeks,
Yeah.
and that's how I got through it. It was very challenging because it is a 35 to 40 hour week commitment. And like I said, I was in my last semester, so I had 5 weeks, and then I graduated. So, and I was
Is there a lot of students that do Vistas as basically like a gap year program?
yes, the one before me. We miss her. She was great. She graduated from UAB as well. She was in the ambassador program. Was she, Bambi?
Yeah.
Ashley? Yeah. And so was I know Caitlin was in the ambassador program and an intern as well. The Vista prior to her, the one I first worked with as an intern. But yeah, we just, I don't know, sustainability. We have multiple programs, and we just don't like to leave. So anytime a new position opens, we just move over there. But yeah, we do have a lot of like they'll either start out as an intern or an ambassador, and then they saw the Vista position open. Once and odds are they had like just graduated with UAB, and then they moved into the Vista position for like a year.
Okay.
So
Okay. And as
yeah.
far as becoming a site of like a solar tour of America site, would you recommend that we also do that with any of our projects?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I've got that on my list. I'm going to send you the information for ACES, American Solar Energy Society, about becoming a site. And then I'm also going to send the Footprint Project asked me who I would want to invite to that event. They didn't ask me to send their brochure to, two other potential leadership people, but I'm going to send them your information, and then I'll add just a link to Footprint Project for you so that you can check them out.
Mm-hmm.
And see if maybe y'all should have a discussion about attending that event in July.
Okay.
And if you get yourself, if you're able to, and you're registered on that map, everyone who goes to the ACES website can see you like as a site, which is what I've actually been going through and looking at who's been new and added in the last week. So yeah, and it's available to whoever goes to it. So it'll definitely get you out there, get people, they'll see you and be like, what is this? This is in my area type of deal.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Excellent. Yeah.
Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and good work on a house and working on making it affordable. I mean, I'll take a look at see if there's it's a nice design. It looks really nice. I don't know how we can use it. We focus on a particular build style, but we might be able to actually borrow some ideas or like modify it to our building techniques as well.
Oh yes.
Specifically for this home, the the number one like strength, I think. It does not overheat in here very easily at all. It is hot outside. I do not have the air conditioning on. Our walls are 9 inches thick, more than 9 inches thick. I have the door closed between here and the other room. It's not hot in here. It's very comfortable. In the Alabama heat and humidity, that is extremely impressive to me. Our R values are insane for insulation, and
Wow.
the envelope is so tight that we do need an ERV. Very worth it because we're not having to use
Oh,
all of
wow.
the energy, all of that energy on air conditioning.
So
I
right
would
now
say
you
probably
no AC and it's hot outside.
No AC and it's hot outside. How hot
Wow.
exactly is it? It is 83 degrees outside
with
right now.
51% humidity.
51% humidity, and I'm super comfy.
I would
Wow.
say maybe the biggest concept, so like you
And
were
this is a
taking away
south-facing
from
window
the,
too.
you're talking about our plans and stuff. The biggest concept I would say, maybe to take away from our plans, is that the house was built for Alabama. So whatever you would need to make it built for, you said like an hour north of Kansas City.
Mhm.
So like our design concept keeps in mind the heat down, right? And especially when we were in Colorado, we were the only team from the southeast. A lot of the other teams were from areas that typically have a colder climate.
Mhm.
So we had a very different design than a lot of them because we want to make sure we stay cool. And we have airflow because it is humid and it is gross. Tomorrow's a first alert weather day for us.
Mhm.
It's going to be humid until tomorrow afternoon.
All right.
But
Okay.
the window placement, the insulation, and the ERV
Yeah.
make this house very cold.
Excellent. Yeah, I want to take a look at. I want to take a look at like all the component choices you made in your bill of materials and all that.
And you know how to find us if you have any questions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much again, and yeah, we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
Thank you.
feel free to, if you want, to reach back out to us. We have like a PowerPoint demonstration we do for people who can't come to on site. So
Mhm.
where it's like a
Please send that
walkthrough.
to me as well. I saw
Mhm.
one page of it, but yeah, I'd be interested in
Yeah,
taking a look at it. Okay.
absolutely. Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
All right.
As well.